one of the many things that I love about your career is like, yes, you can work for the Redfords and the Coen Brothers and the Spike Lees, and yet there's also a segment of your fan base probably that knows you from like Adam Sandler films, right? Like, do you see like any difference?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
So
I not with Adam so much, but with some like maybe Transformers films.
Right.
I consider that if I was a builder, that's my electrical job.
Sure.
Right? And then my other jobs, that's my plumbing work.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like this, like quiz show is my plumbing work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to have a toolbox. But when you do these things, it's like less of an intricate portrait that you're painting. It's more of a sketch, you know? And within that, you can do a lot of things. And it's really hard, you know, to do that. But with Adam, I've had fun doing like the Zohan or Mr. Deeds.
I mean, you get to work with Nicholson in anger management. That's something.
Yeah, well, he had told Nicholson that I was going to do the film.
Oh, so you were bait.
So he was a big fan of my first movie, Mac. And he was like, oh, Johnny's going to be in it. Great. And then Sandler called me up. He said, you know, Nicholson, he's excited you're going to be in the movie. You know, he wants to do the movie. And I was like, oh, so you blackmailed me. So then, you know, when I met him, you know, he was really funny and he was really nice to me. And I was a huge fan of his and stuff. And I did ask him when we were doing the movie, you know, so how's it going, Mr. Nicholson? You know, you want to call me Jack, man? You know, call me Jack. And I said, how's it, you know, what's it like? He goes, well, I said, what's sort of the tone of the movie? He goes, well, let me tell you, Johnny, there is no tone. He goes, you know, I've been all over the map, man. I've been, you know, in the Strindberg play. I've been in a Pirandello play. And he was, you know, he had all these metaphors and stuff. But, you know, I told Sandler, I said, you know, there's no tone, you know. He said, you know. So I just, you know, but he was great just to be around. And he was so giving off camera. He's like a real.
I've always heard that.
Really giving off camera.
A Few Good Men, the famous story is that he did like he did the reverses even when he did anything.
Oh yeah, he was really great. And, you know, he loved my first movie. He had told me he saw it 3 times. And I was really, you know, these are people that have had major, you know, effect on you. And when you meet them, it's, you know, you have to digest that because they're part of why you do what you do.
Have you reconciled that you have now shifted into that for younger actors that you work with on a set? Probably?
You know, I don't know. I can't. That doesn't really help me. You know, you know.
I'm sure, like
I don't want to be like, well, I know what I'm doing now.
I'm sure Riz Ahmed looks at you on set and says, oh,
I helped Riz because Riz was under a lot of pressure, and you know, he would vent and do it. I said, well, you just have to speak up for yourself. You can do it in a reasonable way. You know, if you don't like something, if you feel like you're being pushed around or whatever. And Riz would sometimes vent. And I kind of, you know, showed him a little bit of how I learned to navigate things. Because I worked with some directors who were really abusive. You know, I mean, physically abusive. And, you know, I mean... So then I learned, I said, well, I have to speak up for myself. You know, otherwise, you know, it doesn't really help your performance if you're tense and everything. And that was kind of a school of directing for some people.
It was a type of director, too. I think you mentioned before, the Ciminos and the Friedkins were aggressive men at the time that were not.
I mean, I worked with, like, Francesco Rosi, and he wasn't that way. He was a masterful director. But he would show you all these things to do physically and stuff, and I loved working with Francesco.